All right, I think we are live. Go ahead.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to Capital City in Conversation, live from the revamped Stanley A. Milner Library. I'm your host tonight, Kate Gibson. I'm the manager of the Sprucewood branch and also the lead of Capital City Press. So as you've seen throughout the day, this library is full of amazing resources to help meet the various needs of your community. And one of the things we do here is help connect local writers to local readers through Capital City Press. This evening, I am so pleased to be joined by 4 members of the Edmonton literary community to talk about literary festivals in the time of COVID and how they've adapted over the past 6 months. With me today is Fawnda Mithrush, Executive Director of LitFest, Canada's only nonfiction festival. Fawnda has played the role of General Manager for the Theatre Network and the Free Will Shakespeare Festival, and penned stories and profiles for the likes of Avenue Magazine, View Weekly, the Edmonton Journal, and Aquavitae, among others. So welcome, Fawnda.
Hi.
Nisha Patel is the Executive Director for the Edmonton Poetry Festival. She is an award-winning Indo-Canadian poet, artist, and public speaker, as well as being Edmonton's current Poet Laureate. On top of that, Nisha is the 2019 Canadian Individual Slam Champion. Good evening, Nisha.
Hi.
Peter Midgley is the new director of STARFest, the St. Albert Readers Festival. He's an editor with over 30 years experience and an author of 12 books himself. Peter is also going to be EPL and Capital City Press's featured writer starting in November, organizing a couple of workshops or events, as well as perhaps some book lists and blog articles for the website. So thank you for joining us, Peter.
Lovely to be here.
Last but not least, because I did this in alphabetical order by your guys' first names, I'd like to introduce Susie Moloney, writer in residence here at the Edmonton Public Library. Susie has been a novelist, journalist, essayist, and screenwriter for decades. Her second novel, A Dry Spell, has been published in 18 countries and translated into 12 languages. Susie's first feature film, Bright Hill Road, is premiering on October 2nd at the Calgary International Film Festival, and her other short film, Romy, is that correct? Yes. Is October 3rd at the Edmonton International Film Festival. So welcome, Susie.
Hey.
So I'm so glad to have all of you here. Before we jump into the conversation about literary festivals, I think this is some of your first time here at the new Milner. Some of you might have had a sneak peek before. For those watching at home, we're spread out throughout the library, partly to maintain physical distancing, but also so you get some different backdrops of the many neat places in this library. So I wanted to ask all of you, what do you think?
Yeah,
whoever wants to jump.
It does not look like the inside of a tank, so I'm super happy about that. It's actually the opposite of what I think the inside of a tank looks like.
It is huge. It's awesome. The gaming room, Fawnda, you showed us that earlier. There's just so much here.
Yeah, the gamer space is incredible. The maker space is really nicely outfitted, sound booths, everything. Behind me is this amazing digital display that I have been in here because my LitFest office is actually on the 6th floor. But this display often has like a big fish tank video on it, which is really beautiful. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful to be in here.
If I turn it this way, you can even see some art behind me there. There's just so much here.
And Susie?
It's fantastic. And the best part is people who are making use of the writer in residence can come and join me in my office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got a great view. You're not facing it, but the view is out over Churchill Square, and it is amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
Construction-y right now.
It's a bit construction-y right now. I'm out over on the 3rd floor on the top of the reading ramp, looking out over the opening foyer, which is just a pretty awesome sight. The first time I came in and looked up, and it's open and bright and just so amazing. It blew me away. So again, thank you all for being here. We're talking about LitFest. So can you guys tell me a little bit about each of your literary festivals? I don't know who wants to start. If anyone wants to jump
I
in.
think Fawnda's festivals are coming up first, which I'm a part of. So I'm going to pass it off to Fawnda.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks, Nisha. Well, what was really cool about this year is that we had to really change the way that we thought about how we were going to do events. Not really knowing what distancing and things like that would be like, we decided to go all online for LitFest. And knowing that Poetry Festival didn't happen in May, we decided to collaborate and give some of the spots that are happening during LitFest, which is October 15th through 25th, to Poetry Festival, and to have some poets go in there. And I've worked with Nisha before. Nisha used to be on staff at LitFest a few years back, and so that's how we met. So it's really great to be working together again. And LitFest is also running a new festival this year called Yeg Podfest. Podfest is October 1st through 3rd, and that's also all online and free or by donation if people would like to donate.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. For the Poetry Festival, we were one of the first festivals to cancel when we went into lockdown. And for me especially, that was like really heartbreaking. It was going to be my first festival as executive director and as poet laureate, and it was really sad to see it go. But at that time, we had so little information on how to do events, how to do them safely, how to do them online. And so when the opportunity came up to bring some of our poets back into the public light, we totally jumped on that opportunity. We're very, very happy to be part of LitFest right now and putting our poets in there. And really getting those events that people have come to really love and rely on back out into the community. And now our community is bigger than we could have imagined. You know, we have poets coming in from out of town. We have poets tuning in from all over the world. And that, I think, in a way shows us just how accessible the literary word is for people in this time.
So, and STARFest, I mean, we're like the others, we've gone online this year, and being a readers festival, we've already been programming a lot and based in a library. We've been part of the St. Albert Public Library's summer reading game, for instance. The books that are here are in the book clubs for the book kits for book clubs. So for us, yes, the festival is there to showcase a fabulous lineup of authors. Check them out at starfest.ca, but really it is already about working throughout the summer, getting people reading and enhancing that reader's experience. So the interviews that we do and are doing online is just to carry on that, expanding that experience.
Yeah, and so, sorry, you go ahead, Fawnda.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a plug for something special that's happening with LitFest. That's it is still a digital experience, but we've recorded some immersive readings with authors and a poet as well. And people can download those. They'll be released on the first day of the festival. And if they wanted to buy the book, then when we deliver the book, we'll deliver a little experience that's supposed to go along with listening to the reading. And so those have been very fun to work on. And it's hopefully a little bit of a way to get people off their screens as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there, anything new or different that you're doing because you've had to, I hate to use the word, but pivot the way you do the festivals. So that experience package is one of those things. Is there anything new with STARFest this year, or is it, are you doing interviews?
We are with Karma Brown's book, Recipe for a Perfect Wife. We've invited Jennifer Cockrell-King, who's just written Dawa, collaborated on that book as well. The two of them are going to do a cook show for us. So we'll see how that goes. And talk about recipes from the book that are in the book itself. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be chaos.
It sounds exciting.
I think personally, I'm really excited for some of the collaborations that LitFest has had with PoFest. For the first time this year, we're going to have a head-to-head joint poetry story slam. So we're going to combine the two mediums, which are similar but very different. And it'll really be up to the audience, I think, to tune in and take in this like competitive storytelling event. Just because we've gone so long without it, right? There's been so many open mics and places that really shut down during the pandemic that haven't transitioned online. So I'm really excited for that. I know Fawnda's excited to bring that back to the audiences that really love it.
Yeah, Story Slam every year at LitFest is one of just like a super fun event. It's very popular. And yeah, so it felt really weird to not have it on that Wednesday that we usually do. So it's gonna be wild. We'll see how it goes.
It sounds amazing. I mentioned in the introduction, Susie, you're part of 2 film festivals. Have they been pivoting? Have they adapted? How have you had a chance to sort of figure out how it's running with the film festivals in this new way of doing things?
You know, they're doing what most people are doing, and that is they're going partially online. Most of the films are available online anyway, but there are a handful that are getting in theater premieres, including ours and a couple of other Albertan ones. But yes, the nice thing about it going online is that it's open to other provinces. And so it's not geo-locked just to Alberta. I think it's open to Calgary, for instance, I think is open to Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and BC. So that's kind of a bonus. And a lot of the festivals are doing that. So that means that, you know, we can go to TIFF, for instance. Everybody can go to TIFF. Normally I wouldn't, but I'm going to see a couple of films this year. And so, yeah, so there's, again, I forget who was talking about how accessible this is. Nisha was. You know, it does turn all of these festivals into something that everyone in Canada or everyone in the world even can experience, which is kind of a bonus.
It really is. Yeah. We were talking about this, Susie, just a few moments ago, actually, that the EPL has gone a lot online, obviously, with our programming. And one of the things it's done is opened up the programs to people who don't necessarily live in Edmonton or who might not be able to come into the library. I know, Susie, you've had people from all across the world come to some of your programs through the library, right?
Yes, it's been incredible. Australia, Peru, a lot of random American places, certainly everywhere in Canada. And I love that. I love that, you know, we can have somebody from Australia sitting in on a local writer's presentation or workshop, right? It's amazing.
It really is.
It's great for audiences too, because even this year I was able to go to the Festival of Literary Diversity, which is in Brampton. And, you know, like I've never been able to actually get out there before. So you know, and of course, like it really just opened up the whole world to that great festival run by J.L. Richardson, who's been an author at LitFest before.
Yeah, you know, and I think that yes, all those things are wonderful, the broadening of audiences, but it's also made it more accessible to local audiences.
Yes.
I think, for instance, so many of our regular festival goers are seniors, and they've already commented repeatedly on how wonderful it is that it's online, that they can come back and watch at their convenience, because it's not always easy for them to come out at night in the fall. So the accessibility already just for those kinds of communities, it reaches into places where we can get into prisons, for instance, with a broadcast that is far more difficult here or when it's a live show than it is now. So it's not just accessibility over there. I think it's accessibility locally as well that has really improved significantly. And this will definitely be continuing. We will not be dropping an online component. It will carry on in some form.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the same for LitFest and Poetry Fest. And the same here at EPL. I think it's shown us that there is a need, and why suddenly go back to the way it was before when we can do it better.
Yeah.
So one of the things I loved, you know, I took over Capital City Press, or I started Capital City Press here at EPL, I think 4 years ago. And before that, I didn't have much of a connection with the Edmonton literary community. One of the things I loved learning about was just how how rich and diverse it really was. And I'd love to hear from all of you your thoughts on, well, the community, but then also where you see it going over the next, say, 5 years, 10 years into the future. Do you have any thoughts on that? Big question, I know.
Yeah, crystal balls, they're so unreliable.
Where would you like to see it go then?
I think that this is, again, COVID has offered us an opportunity here. Moments of crisis, moments of social upheaval, whether it's pandemic, changes in political structures, they change how we think. The Renaissance only comes after the Black Death. The shifts of major shifts, serfdom ends, we end new political structures. We look at already seeing things
We've
assert themselves. Where it's too early to predict, but what I do know is that things are going to change. They're going to continue to change in exciting ways as people find out. And it's just fabulous being part of that community right now. So it'll inspire some, it'll paralyze others, but in the end, it's going to be fantastic.
I think it's really interesting to see just how deep the roots of the literary community, especially are in the BIPOC communities, right? The Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities.
Absolutely.
Who have existed in Edmonton, for many, many years, but haven't had the critical reception that some of their counterparts have had. And to see these people really bloom and emerge when we open up the opportunities for them and make sure things are equitable and based on justice has been very fascinating. Edmonton is a literary city and a literary center in all of Canada. And I think there has been this undercurrent of, hard work and merit to get to where we are, but also a lot of work that we're going to be taking on as festival organizers in the years to come that will continue to open up the city to the rest of the world.
I think one thing I'm interested in is seeing how the pivot to everything being digital or online is also really affecting format and how things are distributed, how things come out. We've seen a lot of sort of new production and grants around audiobooks and things like that. So I'm kind of curious to see how things progress along those lines too. I think that as a book festival, we'll always have books, but just the way that stories get out and the way that people can experience them, I think is really going to be changing a lot in the next few years.
I found, obviously as writer in residence, I work with a lot of the writers that are in Edmonton and other places. People got really creative over that break. I saw people who went, you know what, I've started a book. I've decided I'm going to write a book. I heard a lot of that over the last 5 months. And it's a wonderful thing because, as they were calling it, the great pause, it was an opportunity for so many people to get creative or to get in touch with a creative side of themselves. And so what that says to me is that in the future, we're going to do more creative work because it was reawakened in us over this great pause. So what a beautiful thing to think and hope for. Look at the art we're going to have in 2 years. That's what everybody keeps saying.
It's going to be a shift, not just also in content, in how we, not just in terms of audio and different recording methods, but just how we tell stories, even on the page. It's exciting times.
It really is. It really is. Have the four of you found new avenues of creation and new ways of doing things? Have you been writing, not just organizing these festivals, but for your own creative endeavors?
Yeah, I think the most important realization I've come to is just like the safety of a person and the comfort of a person and the solitude and privacy required for a lot of creation, a lot of inward focused creation and vulnerable creation requires those supports from government and from society. And so when we talk about this time as being a very creative period for a lot of people, it's also been an extremely stressful period for a lot of people who don't have the luxury to create as much as others. And so if we want to continue being an equitable city that allows creation to happen at every part of life, then I think we have to invest in those resources. And the library is a really great example, because it's going to be this big accessible space that is required for a lot of people to create their best work. And that's what we want from everyone. We want them to be creating their best work now and into the future.
Yeah, and that's going to rely on our audiences to keep coming to festivals, to keep reading the books that the writers who are producing, to publicize that, to be an active part of making that happen. So yes, buy the books, read the books, come to the festivals, do these things, because without that and without generous support, we're going to struggle. We're already struggling. So help us. Help.
I mean, I'll be very honest. I come from a live theater background, and doing everything online terrifies me. Like it feels very, very different. You know, you want to be able to be in a space together and hear people breathing and laughing and, you know, crying together. So it has been very challenging, and a lot of different kind of stress than the festival usually is.
You know, it's funny though. There's always that talk about funding the arts, and you know, then when we did have the pandemic, what were people doing? They were consuming art. They were reading and watching television and watching movies and reading, you know, books. Lots and lots of books. Apparently, there were record sales in some places. So that's, you know, I feel like the pandemic kind of gave us an argument.
You know, let's not underestimate what our independent bookstores have done in this town for readers. The curbside deliveries that they are delivering, the fact that they are working with vastly disrupted distribution channels to get the books to these readers. Really, other than to say to you, again, come to the festivals, I want to do a plug for our 2 local independent bookstores here in Edmonton, Glass Bookshop and Audrey's, who have done a phenomenal job of making sure that readers still get books. So
Here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Susie, you talked a little bit about this, but as the writer in residence, how do you see that role fitting into all this? How do people reach out to you? What have you been seeing over the past 6 months? You basically, as soon as we shut down, you went online. So how has that been?
That's the nice thing about what the writer in residence position does, right? It's a reading and then a discussion with the writer. So it was very well suited to online. I should wish, of course, that I had bought stock in Zoom, because I spent hours and hours and hours on Zoom, as I'm sure we all did. It didn't change. I'll tell you one thing that that was a benefit was a lot of people who, again, as Peter mentioned, have accessibility issues were much better suited to the online format than the in-person. Even, and you know, I think that when I started in January, before we were all in the middle of a plague, it never occurred to me to do it really online. We talked about doing it via phone sometimes, or, you know, even by email, but nobody ever said, well, do video conference, and of course we do, everybody Skypes and FaceTimes, that sort of thing, but Zoom changed it all. So I did see a lot of people who weren't writers or didn't think of themselves as writers deciding to write family memoirs and their own memoirs and a story that they'd been thinking of for years, that, you know, so I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of new writers, which is incredibly exciting, of course, because you're there at the beginning and you're telling them not to have bad habits, which was really great. And so I was also able to, you know, convince local writers to do their workshops online, which was really cool, because then, you know, they used PowerPoint, and Zoom's, you know, particularly well suited to that format. And so they were clicking through, and it was really, really very fun. And you could have so many people. You know, we had, I think, 70 people for one workshop that I did, I think, with my husband, Vern Thiessen. And you know, so there were so many people, and they were from all over Alberta, and they were from other places in Canada. And so, you know, it was super successful. I don't think I need the office.
I'll take it back.
No, you're not.
No.
I do want to come to pick up on something that Susie said, and that is accessibility. You know, we're all aware of accessibility, but suddenly you can do things like closed captioning. That is a form of accessibility that is available to us now. There are also other forms, and Nisha was speaking about that, but I'm about this earlier as well. But especially for linguistic and cultural minorities, these are very visible and very active writing communities that write in other languages. And here, through captioning, through online medium, they've ways that are often marginalizes them. So yeah, I think these are wonderful things about online.
Another thing I've noticed about with the move to online is that audiences who normally like wouldn't even really just be able to like leave their house on a whim, like new parents and things like that, they're able to attend anything they want.
Yes.
So that's also been really, really fantastic to see. It was one of the things that some feedback we got about LitFest in previous years, because most of our events are evenings and weekends. And if you can't arrange childcare or you have to pay for it, then that can make it really difficult to get out and to have some of those development experiences as a writer. So that's been also really interesting too. And we've seen, you know, Pandemic University, Omar Mualim's project. He's a former EPL writer in residence.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, but I mean, his university has been getting from people from all over the world, you know, learning about writing and different formats and that sort of thing too. And that was created right here in Edmonton.
So a question I have for all of you, and this maybe is a slightly selfish question because I am curious to know what I could be doing more to help, but I'm curious what you think, like how do libraries connect with the literary festivals of the literary community? What do you see the role of the library in these? Whoever wants to answer that question. It's a broad question, but I'm really curious what the answer is.
I think in the past, the library has always been a partner in the physical space to present our works. And during construction, that's been like something we've really missed. It's an affordable space. A lot of literary festivals in general are on very, very tight budgets, and having a space that's often beautiful and accessible and all of those things has been a huge benefit to us. But now that we're kind of in this world where we might be doing hybrid festivals and stuff like that, the library becomes a touch point to the public, right? They're a public-facing organization, and they have access to communities and resources that we don't have the money for. And so partnering with the library is a natural fit for a lot of literary festivals, because not only are we bringing diverse audiences together with festivals that have very varying mandates, but all the same goal of bringing people to art. But we also have this like beautiful space to do it in, and we have the technological prowess to do it. And so really we're reaching audiences that we couldn't have done on our own, which is the same of our partnership, right? Like Fawnda and I working together have a larger audience together. We're also like doing an event with Peter, right? The three-way festival event. And that's going to hopefully bring in people who wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to even see each other or be in the same space.
Yeah. And we are, I mean, yes, we are joining, but I also think that in terms of what libraries provide and already do, and that is going to become more important, is in your makerspace areas, you have a recording studio, for instance. And if we are shifting the way we are presenting online and presenting story, those kinds of spaces and those kind of offerings that libraries offer are going to just gain value and importance. So keep going and building those and offering that to people.
Yeah, I do think that the library itself is that sort of main public touch point for people to hear about, you know, what's happening. I think that the scope of what the library has and the reach that the library has is much larger than each individual festival has on its own. So that's the other, you know, LitFest has always been actually we live in the EPL. Our office is here, and we used to do all of our events, or a lot of them at least, in the theater on the lower level. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in future years when we can get back in there. But it's I think that just being able to have that that communication, that collaboration, and that we're all part of this big team in the city that has similar goals. So
if I can just add to that, the fact is that a lot of people can't buy books in certainly in the volumes that they read them. Like I read a lot, and so I can always get a book at the library. I mean, I know that's super basic, but in fact, if you want to read the latest books that are going to be at LitFest, you might not buy all of them, but you could probably get them all here, right?
And I think that through the fact that libraries often are, and especially a downtown library like Milner, is often a safe space for people. And we cannot underestimate the importance of having those kind of public safe spaces for vulnerable populations within our city. So yeah, this place is just built for that. It is fabulous. I cannot wait to see how the downtown community is going to use this space and how it's going to feed into the rest of the city, and it's going to shift other libraries in other parts. I mean, it will.
Going back to what you said, Susie, the collection. If people, we try and collect the newest books. We reach out to Fawnda in the past for the list of LitFest books to make sure we have them. We collect as much as we can, and actually right behind Susie, I don't know if it's just on me right now, but if Susie talks, you can probably see behind her, there is the Capital City Press collection, which is our local. Yeah, you take over and point it out, Susie.
So there we are. These are, I might even be able to walk over there, shall we?
Sure.
Shall we? We'll walk over here.
Just unplug your computer.
Yes, I did. That would be funny. So this is the Capital City Press collection right here. And here's a familiar name. Can we see that one? Where is the
lower?
There
we go.
There we go. There's Natasha Dean's book. And where is, and there's Allison Hughes. See Capital City Press stickers on there? Peter, where's your book? There it is.
In the top, there we go.
Can we see it? I can't.
You probably have to talk. There you go. Yeah.
It isn't exactly my phone, so I can't see what's going on there. But this is fantastic. Look at all these books we could be reading right now. Instead, we're talking on the screen, on the Zoom here. There we are. I could be reading, you guys.
Well, soon people will be able to come in and read those. It's a great collection because we reached out to the Edmonton community and said, hey, if you're a writer and you've published a book, we want to buy it. And we'll hopefully be, we will be doing another call out, and we'll continue to do calls out to get the newest books in there and support local writers. It's just a great way that we can promote everyone and try and just let people know what, like we said, the rich community of writers that this city has. People can come and learn about that. There's also a collection for musicians as well, Capital City Records, and a lot of the local art, which Peter did point out some art, but there's art throughout this building. And so a lot of local artists as well displayed throughout, and actually behind Nisha as well is a lovely gallery wall. Nisha actually, it can't really tell where she is, but Nisha is in one of the reading rooms that we have on the I'm so bad with cardinal directions, the northeast corner, and it's overlooking the Citadel and the Winspear Center. So it's a great space as well. So I want to bring it back to literary festivals, though. Enough about the library. We've talked a little bit about the types of events happening, but I'm curious some of the names, some of the authors, some of the writers, poets that are coming in. What can people get excited about? So whoever again wants to go first about some of the upcoming things.
I'll just leap in there because I really am excited. We're starting off with Jessie Thistle and Therese Marie Mayotte Hartberry.
Peter seems to be in a bit of a
Peter's
funny
frozen.
dead zone.
Lost him there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. You're back.
I'm back. Okay.
Start over, yeah.
Just starting over. Apparently, my internet connection is unstable. That's
You're
better
just
than.
Yeah, you're in a little bit of a dead zone. I don't know why.
Well, we've got Desmond Cole, Jessie Thistle, Therese Mayott, Ashlyn Hunter, Annabelle Lyon, Emily St. John Mandel, Karma Brown, Marina Endicott we had to cancel her event. COVID, we closed down the library the day that her event was supposed to happen. So lovely to have her back. Nazanin Hozar, Taya Mutonji, Zalika Reed Benta. It's a fabulous lineup that we've.
Yeah, I think for the poetry end of things, we're really excited because we've brought in some local poets. Titi Lope is coming in. Liam Cody is going to be performing in the Slam. Some up-and-coming artists who people may not know as much about, as well as people like the Youth Poet Laureate, Tamina Mohammed. But we also have some people coming in from out of town, which again, like we might not have had the opportunity to really book. And these are people who have become very proficient at online readings. And so it's going to be like a really special treat to have people like Ian Kedeku and Rebecca Thomas, who are all people outside of Edmonton, come in for this festival. And the marriage with LitFest, I think, is going to be really great, like having so much poetry in a nonfiction festival, because many of these poets, if not all of them, practice nonfiction, but it's in this, like, this cool and emerging art form, or this resurgent art form that especially, young people are reclaiming as their own.
Mm-hmm.
I've always really liked having poetry at LitFest because we do focus on nonfiction, but so much poetry is, memoir based. And yeah, we have some really exciting things that are happening. Lindy West is coming back with her new book, which is about the film industry. Vivek Shraya is interviewing her for that event. I'm very excited about Michelle Parisi's book, Alone, a Love Story. Which was a hit CBC podcast last year, I think. And that now is a book. Aminatou Sow and Anne Friedman, who I have just followed. I've followed their podcast called Call Your Girlfriend for a really long time. But they've written a book called Big Friendship, which is about how we keep each other close. It's beautiful. And we're doing things like the Memoir Hour and the Brunch of Writers is coming back. And Jennifer Cockrell King is actually going to be doing our brunch from her home in the Okanagan. There's all sorts of, and we have some master classes lined up as well, panel discussions. It's going to be great. And with PodFest on October 1st, we have Jada Boomrad from Dolly Parton's America and Radio Lab headlining that opening night. So that's also really cool.
That's wow.
Really so nice. Yeah.
It is going to be wow. So how do people find out more about these festivals? What are the dates? How do they get tickets? All the info, that kind of stuff. I would love to hear from each of you. Yeah. How do people find out more?
I can cover the LitFest and Poetry Festival side of things. You can check out litfestalberta.org. All of the events are now live. Most of them are free or by donation. The master classes have the regular ticket fee that we normally charge with LitFest, which is $12. And for PodFest, you can check out yegpodfest.ca. That's October 1st to 3rd. And that's all free or by donation as well. So yeah.
Yeah, you can also find all the same duplicate information on the Edmonton Poetry Festival website, edmontonpoetryfestival.com, but it is going to redirect to LitFest, so you might as well skip a step, but just in case.
Yep, and for us, you can go to starfest.ca, that's STARFEST.ca, and also, yes, events are free or by donation, so just come and check us out. And our dates are, first event is 6th of October, and we run throughout the month until the 29th.
Yep, and LitFest, PoFest runs from October 15th to 25th. Our joint event with STARFest is on October 25th as well. And I think PodFest is October 1st to 3rd. Yes.
Cool. October is packed. Susie, you've got upcoming stuff as well. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
I do. I have a workshop, Intro to Horror. I write horror fiction and horror screenplays. So that is being hosted by, it's partnered with the library. We're partnering with WIFTA, which is Women in Film and Television Alberta. They're our host, but it's a cross-country event and it is also free. You can get information. I did post it on the Metro Writer in Residence Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter, Susie Moloney, Moloney with an O, or find me on Facebook. It's all on my own page. My own page is open to the public, so we don't have to be friends for you to see it. And that's Saturday, September 26th. It starts at 10:30 in the morning, but it's a full day of horror. So there's my workshop, and then there's a panel discussion later in the afternoon and some horror films screening that evening.
Sounds awesome.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So is there anything else that you wanted to share or plug, or I want to give you a chance to make sure I didn't miss anything about your event?
The Poetry Festival is planning on coming back with a part 2 next spring. And we're not sure exactly what that's going to look like or how many people there are going to be, even if we're going to be in person or not. But we do plan on coming back, taking over National Poetry Month, which is April of every year. And in the lead up to that, super secret speaker series is going to come up. And for that event, we're going to pair a well-known North American poet, some very big names hopefully lined up, with a local poet for kind of like an immersive 1-hour session with them. So those are going to be some very exciting events. We're really happy to begin getting the rollout back going on that. That was something that was supposed to have started up already. Yeah, and it should take us now right into next year's festival in whatever form it takes.
Excellent. So I mean, I would love to continue chatting about all the amazing things that are going on. This is a jam-packed day, though. There has been events throughout the day since 10 a.m. and we've got one more event after this, so I do have to wrap this up. So next up is the qualifying round D of the Bee, and it starts at 7 p.m. It's EPL's 3rd annual adult spelling bee, so we're doing qualifying rounds this time. And so that'll be at 7, like I said. Capital City in Conversation, this program will be back for another episode. I don't know what to call it. So keep your eyes on the website for another one of those where we'll talk to more creators, artists, writers, musicians throughout the city about different topics, hopefully every month. And don't forget that Milner itself is opening September 17th to the public. So book your arrival time for the first 4 days. Through epl.ca. There will be a standby line from what I understand. So if you don't get a booking, you can come and wait in line and try and get in. But I think it's going to be probably pretty packed. Obviously, there'll be limited numbers of people allowed in. We are in strange times, but it's very exciting. I'm so happy that it's finally opening and so excited for everyone to see it. So thank you again to Susie, Peter, Nisha, and Fawnda for joining me tonight. I hope you all stay safe and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye.